Hey Homeworthy, I'm Patrick. Welcome to my home in Baltimore. I can't wait to show you around.
This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Patrick Sutton. I'm an interior designer, and you're in my home right now in Fells Point, which is a historic district in Baltimore, Maryland. So this home we found serendipitously because we were taking a water taxi from our old condo building across the harbor. And what's interesting about this house is that you actually can't see it from this bustling neighborhood that we're in from the street. So I would never have known it existed until we were taking this water taxi. We saw it from the water and piqued our interest, and kind of like, well, what are those modern, cool looking buildings? And then 2 weeks later, I was coming out of the movies with my sons, and we ran into the real estate agent who actually was representing these properties. And she told me, she said, look, by the way, this was 2008 where nobody was selling anything. And said, look, this is, there's these really cool brand new houses. They've had a 20% drop in cost because of the economy. You should really take a look. And so I told her, I think I just saw those from the water. So we went and took a look and fell in love, freaked out a little bit over the price, but sucked it up and made the plunge, and we've been here ever since. When we bought the house, it was built speculatively, so there was not a lot of bells and whistles, if you will. It was sort of builder quality kitchens and kitchen cabinetry, bath cabinetry, and so forth. But what we really loved was the super tall ceilings and the big expansive windows. So I knew we could work with it. And then we've spent the last number of years sort of renovating floor by floor. Every inch of the house. We finally did our last room, which is our primary bathroom. We just finished that last year. So I guess they say, hopefully that doesn't mean we're going to sell the house, because I think they say that once you've finished, it's time to move on. But that's what we've been doing, and it's been kind of fun because I use the house a little bit as a as a laboratory for experiments and for design ideas that I would try out on myself before I tried on a client, just in case it didn't work out. But that's sort of the story of how we've worked our way through the project. So welcome to my living room. This is pretty much where we spend most of our time. Not surprisingly, considering this beautiful view that we have out here, that really was the selling point of the house to begin with. One of the things you'll notice is that I'm an avid collector of books. Pretty much throughout the whole house, you're gonna see stacks of books everywhere. One of the things that we did when considering this space is that I really wanted your eye to go out the window, because that's where the view is. And one way I think we were able to achieve that was by putting this, it's actually smoked cork wall covering in here. What that does is it sort of absorbs the light, so your eye naturally is drawn to go outside rather than sort of be focused inside. A couple of other things that are interesting about this space. I mean, we have these two large Varellin sofas that are so deep that it is very common that Tracy, my wife, and I will fall asleep individually on these sofas. They're that comfortable. And then the other thing too is over here on this wall, we have a huge armoire that I found at a showroom, a furniture showroom. It's actually an antique piece, and it hides our television. And so we put these swivel chairs in here so you can either be part of the conversation or you can swivel around and watch whatever program that we have on the television. I also like to surround myself with things that I've found. We were at the East Hampton Antiques District, and I found this lovely soapstone carving of a woman's torso, also coupled with this little fun carved onyx, black onyx Anubis that we got in Egypt when we were traveling there. So one of the things that is fun for me as a designer is always finding great lighting. It's kind of the jewelry of the home. This is a beautiful plaster actual chandelier that we found a couple of years ago. This is this is sort of an industrial design. This is a wire mesh sconce that looks like it's just sort of hanging there that I found in New York that I happen to love. It has a nice little glow of light because of the mesh. Actually creates a pattern on the wall when it's illuminated at night. Also, what's really cool is I was at the Marché aux Puces in Paris, and I found these beautiful lamps that were fashioned from old iron gates and railings. And it's just kind of a fun piece. It just makes me happy. And then all these little knickknacks are things that actually belong to my parents from their travels, which just sort of makes me feel connected to, to my family. Interestingly enough, this little painting here was painted by my great aunt Stella in the 30s, who is our dog's namesake, which, it just sort of makes me feel that it's meaningful. And then this is really fun. So I'm a big fan of Heinrich Kerstens. He's an artist, a Dutch artist. He basically takes pictures of his daughter fashioned in garb from like sort of the Vermeer era. And so this is one of his pieces. It's a serious piece of art. But one of the great things is last year my staff gifted me at Christmas. They found an artist that actually can take your pictures of your pet and put them together, I guess digitally, alter them to put in the same style. So we now have the real thing and my dog fashioned in the similar way. So I'm a big texture guy. One of the things that I like, more than color is actually texture. So this rug is basically a woven jute rug. And people worry that it's not going to feel good underfoot. It's really soft. It feels actually pretty good, as opposed to sisal, which is a little bit more abrasive. And then this ottoman, this tufted ottoman, is just a great perching place for when you have extra guests and so forth. The coffee table is actually my own design. I had found a company that Eastern European group of guys that made old world hand-scraped, hand-carved parquet floors like you would find in a palace in Europe. And I asked them, hey, can I just get one square of this hand-done top? And I had our metal guy make a base for it. And voila, I have a custom hand-scraped coffee table of our own design. These really fun chairs were something that I found in a shop in Sag Harbor. And what I love about them is they're super modern, and those juxtaposed to this sort of antique, very ornate chest on chest. I just love the contrast of those two things. They sort of make each one of them more interesting because they're so different. I think that's sort of, to me, that's sort of what's interesting about doing interior design is finding things that are completely opposite that just work well together. So the bookshelf behind me really, this is where I hide all my cookbooks. Actually some of my father was a journalist, as I mentioned earlier, and he actually also authored 11 books. So some of his books, which date back to the 1950s, called the Footloose series. So I have those there. Again, I like to surround myself with things that are familiar. It's very comforting. And next, I'd love to show you our dining room. So this is our dining room. And as I mentioned before, one of the things I like to do is mix old and new things. So this is a drop leaf table that I actually found in Paris at a flea market in Paris. But then I juxtapose those with these very, very modern sort of white leather and chrome chairs that are just sort of fun. They're actually surprisingly comfortable. And then, art is a big part of our household. This is an artist. You have this giant wall. You need a piece of art that supports it. So this is an artist from Miami whose work I really liked. It's really powerful. So I think when you come up the top of the stairs, our house is sort of vertically oriented. So when you come up from the bottom of the stairs, that's really the first thing that you see. It sort of sets the tone before you pivot and look out at the view. And then this little fun thing, this is a DIY piece of art. I was at the gift show in New York and I saw these really cool, what looked like eggs that were gilded on the inside. And I just thought it would be really fun to just do this giant circle spiral as an installation. So this is my own work. Nothing too exciting, but that's it's just fun and playful. And then this centerpiece on our table, this actually was my dad's fish poacher, which I've sort of carried around forever. Sometimes it's used for beer and wine, or sometimes it's a floral arrangement like it is now. And next I'd like to take you to our kitchen, which is right off our dining room. Welcome to our kitchen. This is sort of the hub of the household. This floor, we're currently on the second floor of our house, is sort of our main living area. And my wife Tracy and I both love to cook. It's actually an entertainment thing that we do. When our friends come over, we make everybody have a job. When we bought the house, there was sort of a builder grade kitchen in, so we took it all out and redesigned this kitchen that you see here now. One of the fun little details that we did when we designed the kitchen was this little surprise of this Hermes orange that we put on inside the cabinets. I like surprises. And when we were doing it, I gave the millworker a Hermes box and I said, here, match this color. I'm not a big orange guy, but for some reason, it works here. Little fun things that we've done is we've built in little areas for trays and things like that. The appliances were all here, so we just repurposed them. Over on this side here, we did this open shelving area, which makes it much more easy than trying to shuffle through cabinet doors and things like that. So all our day-to-day dishware is in here, our wine glasses. You can tell we may have an issue with drinking wine. And then one of the other things that I did, which I thought was kind of fun, is we embedded a television into the sink, so you're not staring at a wall. And then when we're not having programming, I just turned it into an aquarium, which is kind of fun. And then over in this corner, I have a little roll-out bar for making drinks for our guests and so forth. When selecting the materials for the kitchen, I really wanted to have some sort of rich palette of materials. So actually the cabinets themselves are fumed white oak. So these are not stained. It's actually from ammonia fumes, actually turns it that color. I took two different stone approaches. The back counter is in a white marble, a Calcutta marble. And then the front is Nero Marquina, which is a little bit darker, it's a little bit more formal. I wouldn't recommend it, to be perfectly honest with you, because it does show all the little imperfections. So I'm happy I did it for myself, but I would not do it for a client. And then back here, just again, I mentioned earlier, I'm a texture guy. So this is Thasos ledgestone. So it's basically stone that's been broken in half. So it gives us that really kind of interesting texture. It's a big expanse. So we sit at the island here, want to look at something interesting. So that was where that choice came from. Right off of the kitchen, just connected to the kitchen, is our little breakfast nook, which is over here. So this is our little breakfast nook, which is amazing because it is so much light. This is a great thing about this house is there's light coming from everywhere. The table I actually had custom made. It's actually concrete by a company called Zachary A. out of New York. I love it. The chairs are unique. They're sort of polarizing. People either love them or hate them. They're actually made from seat belts. And they were, interestingly enough, also shown in the movie Hunger Games. But they're surprisingly comfortable, believe it or not. I just thought it was a playful little detail. And then we found that green, and we found pops of that in some of the millwork under the desk and things like that. Same way that we did the orange behind the doors. This piece of art, which I love, again, I'm a texture person. This is from an artist named Sabine Maas, who's Belgian, and it's just got such rich textures to it. It's almost as if somebody took plaster and burned it, but it just feels earthy and fun and modern and interesting. So yeah, that's our breakfast room. I came to Baltimore out of architecture school, and my father was a really big personality. I think I mentioned that he was a travel journalist in New York City, where I grew up. I grew up outside of New York City. And he was such a big personality. When I got out of college, I didn't really want to be under his thumb in New York. So I graduated Carnegie Mellon University's architectural program, and I just loved the architectural curriculum there. Did well, got a lot of offers. I thought, well, maybe I'll go to Washington so I don't have to be under my father's thumb in New York. I went to Washington. This was 1985, and Washington in 1985 didn't really have its renaissance yet, so it felt a little, I don't know, transient. And one of the people that was recruiting me, their offices, they had an office in Washington. They had said, well, if you don't like Washington, our headquarters is in Baltimore, and why don't you come and take a look there? And again, I had just come from Pittsburgh, and I came to Baltimore, and it felt so familiar to me, another sort of historic working class town with real neighborhoods, with great character. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna give that a shot. I'll give it a year. And that was 1985, and I never left. And then as I started progressing through my architectural career, I started realizing something was missing. And because I had grown up the son of a storyteller, a literal journalist, who was always looking for the story in the place that we were traveling so he could sort of transport his readers wherever we were, and what it was about that place that made it unique. And what I found was when I was doing just pure architectural work, I felt that there was a loss of connection to the people I was designing for. So often if I was designing a house for somebody, it would be handed off to another interior designer or to an interior designer who had a completely different vision. And I felt as though I was missing something. So I started to employ interior design to our architectural work. And I found that much more satisfying. So much so that to a certain point, I just let the architecture piece atrophy and focus primarily on interior design. So one thing that one would note in my portfolio is there's a strong interior architectural component to everything that we do in our work. But I transitioned, I think it was probably 94, that we really started to focus more on interiors. And we do two things. We do hospitality, so luxury restaurants and boutique hotels, and luxury residences for our clients. Most of our clients are in the Mid-Atlantic region, but we do work pretty much all over the country. All right, let's go upstairs and I can show you our primary suite. So welcome to our primary suite. This is located on the third floor of our house. This is sort of a welcoming vestibule that I found some really fun pieces of furniture. This settee, for example, is an Indian settee. It's actually hammered tin, and the matching end tables. I'm a big art buff, as I mentioned earlier, and I love photography. And this is a piece that I found at Art Basel by an artist named V. Spears. I just love her gaze. It's very captivating. So it's one of my favorite pieces. It's also, again, you get to the top of the stairs, she's looking right at you. Kind of looking right into your soul, actually. I'm not a big teal person, but I found this overdyed rug at Alico, which is an antique rugs dealer that I found in High Point, North Carolina. So we sort of leaned into that sort of teal color with some of the accents of the pillows and so forth. The lamps are really interesting. So this is a company, I don't think they exist anymore, called Dira. And they basically, their mission was to empower African women to be able to find a way to create revenue and make a living and make their lives better. So these are all made from shed horn. I just thought they were really fun, really beautiful, and I love the cause. In here, through the vestibule, is our primary suite, which overlooks the harbor, which is amazing. Again, I'm a texture guy, so I worked with my faux finisher, who I've been working with for decades, to come up with this really sort of fun, tactile plaster, which is sort of the head of the bed wall. And then we found these two great pieces of art in Aspen, where it's actually where we got married. Just really kind of fun, playful pen and ink drawings. I like to mix match, not have sort of matching nightstands. So that's an antique little table that I had found in one of my journeys. And then a little chest here on my wife's side of the bed. One of the things that was kind of fun to do when we renovated this space was I painted the ceiling this high gloss sort of gray blue, which is kind of unnerving when I first did it because it reflects everything. So I'm lying in bed and I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm seeing people walk on the promenade next to the house reflected in the ceiling, which was kind of fun, bit of a surprise. But what I like about it is because it's reflective, it actually makes it feel like the ceiling is much, much higher than it actually is. Some other things to note in the room, this is actually a little sectional sofa. It's where I actually take private calls when I'm at the house because it's the quietest place in the house. These 3 pieces of photography, interestingly enough, I found at Art Basel. And this woman made this tea party in porcelain and then hand painted it. The whole tea party was about this big. And then she hired a photographer to come in and do like little stills of it, which I just think are amazing. And then this piece of art is a local artist who I'd seen in a local show here. I just thought it was really beautiful and I loved it, so we got it. So this armoire is something that we use to sort of conceal the television behind it, so it's nice and tidy when I close it up. Again, textures and layers are things that I think are really dear to me, so that was kind of an interesting piece in the room. And then over here are 2 pieces of art prints that I found at the Baltimore Museum of Art. They have a print fair every year. So I found those there. And I just thought they were really, really quite beautiful. Other thing that's interesting in the room, you'll note that the bed itself is very, very modern, but it sits on an antique rug, again, from Alico that I found in High Point. So those are some things that I think juxtapose really quite nicely. And then nothing's better than waking up to this gorgeous view out the window. So I found this little cute coffee table. It's kind of a quirky space, so nothing could be big. So I found this cute little coffee table that was really, I bought for nothing in one of the shops here in Baltimore. And then thinking about how I wanted to hang a light fixture over it, I found these sort of woven baskets at a company called Texture, who shop from Indonesia. And I thought rather than having it sit up high, just have it hover down over the top of the table. So when you actually turn the light on, it just creates this glow of light specifically on the objects that are on the table. Just something different and interesting. I think what I love most about my home are a number of factors. One is that I live in a bustling, historic neighborhood filled with bars and restaurants, which you would never know because we're sort of hidden behind a series of buildings. So I have the best of both worlds. I live on a very quiet street surrounded by water, which is in and of itself just incredibly soothing just to look out the window and watch the boats go by. But 3 blocks away from here is Mardi Gras almost every day. So I think I love that. I love the fact that, that I'm living in the city, but I have a beautiful roof garden that I can entertain on, or I can just, go up there with a cocktail and watch the sunset. I think it's just an easy life here. Okay, next let's take a look at the bathroom, which we just renovated last year. So welcome to our bathroom. This is our last project that we've done, hopefully. You should always save the best for last. So this was a complete gut renovation of the existing bathroom. I went with all white cabinetry in a sort of a classic style with polished nickel hardware. Albavera is the name of the stone that's on the countertops. It's also on the walls. Lighting was really important. Good lighting, especially as you get to be my age and you can't see things as well anymore. So we've got lighted mirrors, bounce light off the ceiling, recessed lights. I think it was really important to us. And then this floor is this beautiful gray, what's called tundra gray. It's tundra gray limestone flooring, which it's very soft underfoot. It's beautiful. It added that nice little contrast that lets the white pop. We added the soaking tub, and then I created this sort of nestled little nook for it, and then framed that out in this walnut. In fact, all of the insides of the cabinets are in walnut. And it's just sort of, again, just like on the kitchen, where we had the surprise of red on the inside, we have a little surprise of walnut here, which gives it some richness. One of the other cool things is, those of you that are married to women, know how much stuff they hoard. So one thing that I did was find this clever way to conceal all of her things, which are quite a lot. It's a really clever little detail. She's thrilled with it. And anyway, so it's always finding those clevernesses, I think, that make projects interesting. Also, we added this huge shower, which I love. It's like a car wash, and there's water pretty much coming from every direction. And then we had some little lighting underneath the bench that just sometimes I just turn that light on, and that's the only thing that's lit. It's kind of a fun little detail. All the faucetry is from Waterworks. Also, if you'll note, the handles on the vanities are also walnut, so it kind of all ties together. Even the door into the toilet chamber is walnut as well. And then I found just last year at Art Basel this fantastic black and white photograph, which I see every time I come in and out of the shower. I think overscaled art in a place like a toilet chamber is kind of fun because it's unexpected. So I love that little piece there. This little bench, I use to get in and out of the tub so I don't kill myself, but it's sort of a nice place. I also use it to put my shoes and socks on in the morning. One of the focal points, also at Art Basel, also the same artist that's downstairs in our living room over the fireplace, is a Hendrik Kirstens. And again, he's the guy that is a Dutch photographer that fashions his daughter into these Vermeer era imagery. And behind me, I found this. That's actually shaving cream on her head, which is fantastic. And I didn't have any walls in the bathroom left because it was all, cabinetry and windows. So I said, screw it, I'll just hang it over the window. So that is the first thing. She greets me every morning when I wake up. It's difficult for me to answer questions about style because people always are talking about style. And, our approach, at least my firm's approach to design, is really storytelling centric. So we tend to find the story from our client, what is their dreams and aspirations, and then couple that with what it is about the place that they've chose for home, that energy of that location. And so it's a little bit challenging when you're doing it for yourself because you have to ask yourself, what's your own story? And what's interesting about at least my background is that I grew up the son of a travel journalist. So I spent my entire life traveling throughout the world and seeing the world's most beautiful places. And that has stuck with me. So as you can probably imagine, there was just so many possibilities. And I think what we just did is sort of go through and whatever sort of felt right, we executed on. And I would say that the house has an interesting mix of modernity, which I'm a big fan of because I like to think that we're pushing forward or thinking forward. That sort of keeps people interested, it keeps me interested. But there's also things about it, like things that I've collected from either travels or antiques that I've found that have a great, interesting story about that. And so I think the confluence of those two things, modernity with things that are familiar, gives the house that sort of feeling like, it's comfortable, but it's also, it's new and fresh. My wife and I love to cook. She's friends with the entire state of Maryland, so the entertaining part probably comes more naturally to her than it does to me. But we do like to entertain, but I think informal entertaining where we engage, we'll cook together with our friends, have drinks and cocktails up on the roof garden when the weather permits it. But yeah, it's sort of an open, airy place that feels comfortable. I think, one of the things I want to make my guests feel like is that they can put their feet up on the furniture and not feel too precious. I mean, I have white sofas in my living room and a big giant black dog, which I've covered those sofas now, recovered them 3 times. But it's just it's a house that should feel like it's welcoming. All right, so next let's go up to my office, which was fashioned just before COVID and was a godsend, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't think I was ever going to use it, and then COVID hit, and I spent a year there. Let's go take a look. So we made it up to the 4th floor. We're now at my office, which also doubles as the media room. For this space, I really want it to be dark and moody. The living room, which we spend a lot of time on, is very airy and bright. I wanted a place that maybe on a rainy day I could come watch a movie or hang out. It's also it keeps me focused when I'm sitting at my desk. Originally, when I did this room, I didn't think I was going to use it that often. And then COVID hit and I spent an entire year in here. And it's kind of great because I do Zoom meetings over there at that desk. And I have this nice backdrop behind me. And I remember one of my clients said, oh, Patrick thought about what his background looks like when he does a Zoom call, which I thought was kind of funny. The art behind me is a diptych, same artist that is hanging over the dining room table, which we saw earlier. I just liked the pop of color. I thought it was really fun. The rug below us is from Mastor Galleries. Again, orange and yellow seem to be prominent in the artwork, so it sort of all ties together. Over here, this is sort of this actually came with the house, but the has a little refrigerator, a little wet bar area. We have our large-scale TV here for movies. And I'm a Baltimore guy, so the Baltimore Ravens games happen here quite often. So yeah, we spend a lot of time up here yelling at the television on Sundays. Over here we have a Chesterfield sofa. Again, it's sort of office-y, so I thought it felt appropriate. It's sort of soft and cushy. You can put your feet up on this ottoman. Again, I had mentioned earlier that Indian company, East Indian Company, that made these chairs as well. And again, it's pressed tin. This beautiful, fun, playful fabric, lots of color. Other things to note in here is I found these beautiful bronze lamps. I forget where I bought them. They're antique. They are solid bronze. They weigh a ton. But again, big scale, shades on them, kind of just, chunky and kind of felt like the room. And then the last thing I would say is that I enveloped the entire room in drapery, including blocking off the sort of stair in the hall over here with these panels here. Again, it just makes the room feel very cocoony. So I feel like if I want to hide from the world, this is my respite to do it. And then on this side over here, this is where I work. This is my desk. Again, another Paris flea market find. I'm told this was a table that was used to repair steel windows. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I was told, so I'm going with it. And then I think I mentioned earlier, we're very excited. We have our new book coming out. I did a book about 4 or 5 years ago, and this new one, which is coming out in November, Patrick Sutton, Tailored Interiors, that was hatched off of this computer right here over the last year. So we're excited for that to come out. So behind me on this wall, it's a wall of all my interests, right? So one of the things that's kind of cool, this is a triple piece, I guess it's a triptych, that I bought also at Art Basel. This is a Leila Asede. She's an Arabic artist that photographs herself in situations where she's actually making sort of a statement, political statement. She's actually covered herself in the written word because in Islam, the written word is holy. So she's sort of making a statement about that. I just thought it was incredibly powerful. On the left is my great aunt Stella, who I referenced before. She had done that painting in my living room. That's a portrait of her from the 1930s. I actually have a charcoal of hers also from 1934 in the hallway just around the way. The other thing that's really interesting is my mother was actually a Broadway dancer. She danced in the original Broadway play, My Fair Lady. And so my wife was amazingly found one of the Hirschfeld covers about, Hirschfeld did illustrations for the New York Times Arts page. And this is Hirschfeld's depiction of My Fair Lady. So my wife gifted that to me for one of my birthdays. I thought it was incredible. This is a Balinese piece that my father had bought when he was traveling in Bali. This is an old remnant of a palace from his travels as well. Some pieces of art that I found. And then I think up here in the corner is our wedding invitation, which we had framed. So it's sort of a wall of my life and interests. And then down here, I had framed, or actually my friend who married us in Aspen, he framed his written notes from his talk right before our wedding. So it makes me feel very comfortable. I'm surrounded by things that I love. So next we're gonna go to the top floor, which has a little kitchenette and then onto the roof garden. So we're at the top floor now. This is the 5th floor. We've made it all the way up. I turned this sort of glorified stair hall into a little kitchenette that serves our outdoor roof garden, which we'll walk out to in a second. I have this long console here, which we use for storage, a brass kitchenette that my cabinet maker made for me, which I think he did a great job on. A little sink, there's a dishwasher here, this rift-sawn white oak, which we also put onto the ceilings. Ceilings are such an important part of design to me. People forget about them, so it just sort of makes it warm and just sort of comfortable. A little indoor-outdoor too, to be perfectly honest. So that's our kitchen, and let's walk out and take a look at the garden. So welcome to our roof garden. Because we're a townhouse and we're literally in the middle of the city surrounded by water, this is our yard. So when we first bought the house, this was just basically concrete, nothing here at all. So I really wanted to make it feel like an oasis. I brought in all these arborvitae to basically shield the houses and apartment buildings from around us. So when you're seated in the sofa, for example, you have no idea that anybody else is even around us. Behind me is part of the inner harbor of Baltimore. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's where the famous Domino's Sugar building is, which has a giant 2-story Domino's Sugar neon sign. Over here is my little potting shed, which I use for planting and things like that when I have time. A little place to sort of relax and unwind. We went with hydrangeas all over the place that just grow like crazy here. And then we have a little sofa grouping here that's used for TV watching or just hanging out. I did this split bamboo shade trellis because it can get very, very hot up here. So this is a nice place to sort of sit in the shade when it's a super sunny day. So we have 2 sitting areas, one in shade, one not in shade. This is the one that's not in shade. But it's sort of nice in evenings when it's a little cooler or first thing in the morning for coffee. And then right over here is our dining area. During COVID, we ate here quite a bit. We do little crab feasts here. If you know anything about Baltimore, we love our crabs here. So we would crack crabs here. And then all of this looks out over this vast water view, which is really quite spectacular. It's one of the reasons we bought the house. All right, well, you've made it to the top floor. I'm going to take you all the way downstairs to the ground floor where we actually have our entrance foyer and stair hall. Let's go. So we've made it to the first floor. This is our entrance foyer and stair hall. It's basically the front door right in front of me. And then this is our stairs that lead up to the upper part of the house. One of the fun things that we did here is that I found this old desk and I had our stonemason, actually our stone fabricator, make a gray marble top for it. And underneath all of this is where we created a little, what we call our dog's condo. So this is where she sleeps underneath here, which is kind of sweet. She feels very protected and very happy here. Things that I think are kind of interesting. This is a photograph that I found also at Art Basel from an Atlanta gallery, Jackson Fine Arts. I just thought it was incredibly powerful. I also collect drawings. These are drawings that I found in Europe at some of the antique fairs there. They're actually studies, drawing studies for sculptures. They're actually from the 17th century. And I thought those were kind of fun and playful. Notwithstanding how beautiful the really old frames are around them. And then there's a little Buddha up there, sort of bring greeting and peace to our household. And that's this area. One of the other things that I thought was interesting, I was at an antiques dealer, and I saw these round discs that turns out they're industrial baking sheets. I just thought it was fun to make a little collage out of them. So I think that they cost me maybe $50, but it makes a nice impactful statement when you come into the house. Over here on this side, I found these really cool hand-carved African shields, which I think, again, just from a graphic and texture standpoint, I just thought were really interesting, along with this little, this really fun hall stool, that antique piece I actually found that in Aspen. And then also from Art Basel, this is really, really cool. This is a pair of lips. If you can get in tight enough to see it, it's actually made out of straws. And so it's got a little glow of blue coming out of his or her mouth. but I just thought it was so unique and so interesting and so different than everything else we have. And then lastly, over here at the entrance, I found this beautiful photograph. It's just a woodland photograph. I don't know, something about it just spoke to me. It's just sort of the intensity of the color, that beautiful green, and then the gnarly wood branches, just really kind of interesting. And this is a console, concrete console, that I thought was really kind of fun and playful and rustic, a little inside out. Inside, bringing the outside in, I should say, which I sort of also did with the floor. This is Versailles pattern, gray and blue-gray limestone flooring. That again, I like using limestone in foyers because it's sort of the transition from outside to inside rather than going right into a hardwood floor, say. So that's where the selection from that came from. And again, I'm really interested in what ceilings look like. So, I mean, that they get some attention. So we did this beautiful, white oak ceiling detail here as a sort of a way to sort of come into the house, pause, be surrounded by detail before you enter the rest of the house. At the top of the stairs is a piece of art that I found at a gallery in Soho probably 21 years ago. I just love the green sort of verdant nature of it. It just sort of feels happy. So the collage of all these things sort of speaks to the way, I guess, I see design being. It's just a mishmash of things that just all work together from different genres, different areas. It doesn't really matter that they all match or not match. They just work well together. Plus they're me. It makes me feel at home. I think what home means to me is sanctuary. When I come home, I want to feel like I'm welcomed by close family members. It's a place to retreat from, the busy world that I'm engaged in daily with my work. It's a place of comfort. I think home means, it's a respite from your day-to-day activity. It's like coming, home to a close friend. Well, that's our house, Homeworthy. Thank you for taking the tour with me. I really enjoyed it, but it's time for lunch, so you've got to go now. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.